and the curtain had just fallen. Applause echoed through the dim auditorium as parents, classmates, and teachers rose to their feet. The final act of The Ashen Mask, a psychological thriller play written anonymously and submitted mysteriously just 2 months before, had concluded with a chilling monologue that left the audience breathless. But behind the curtain, panic had already begun. Chloe Armstrong, 17, the lead actress in the play and the heart of Lincoln High's theater club, was gone, vanished. Her costume still lay on the dressing room floor, neatly folded, untouched. Her phone was on airplane mode. The last person who saw her was stagehand Mason Green, who said she had stepped out during the final blackout to grab a prop. She never came back. As police began to search the school grounds, whispers started to ripple through the students. Maybe she ran away. She was acting weird this past week. That script, it's not normal. The truth hides in silence more than in screams. Principal Holloway called for an emergency meeting the next morning. Teachers, police, and 2 very confused drama club advisors sat at the front. "What do you mean you don't know who submitted the script?" Detective Marla Bishop asked, her tone sharper than a dagger. "It arrived in a plain envelope in my faculty mailbox," said Mr. Donovan, the club's script coordinator. "No name, no return address. It was brilliant. Dark, yes, but undeniably powerful." "It was too powerful," whispered Emily Jan, one of Chloe's closest friends. "There were things in it Chloe didn't want to perform." Detective Bishop flipped through the script. The pages were typewritten, except for one, the final monologue. It was handwritten, sharp letters, blood red ink, and that page was missing now. As students were questioned, a rumor began to take shape. There had been a cut scene, a portion of the play Chloe had refused to rehearse. "I saw her crying over it," said Lucas Hart, the co-lead. "She said it felt personal, like someone knew something they shouldn't." When asked to describe the scene, Lucas hesitated. "It was like a confession, a secret buried under a floorboard, a girl chained in a basement. It didn't make sense. But Chloe said it wasn't fiction." Emily later found an annotated copy of the script Chloe had been reading from. In the margins, Chloe had written, "It's not a story, it's a message. They're watching me. Every time I read this, I feel them." With nowhere else to go, Emily and Lucas decided to revisit the school's yearbooks, searching for any prior mention of the Ashen Mask. They started with 2005 and worked their way forward. Nothing. Until 2010. Buried deep in the theater club section of that year's edition was a photograph. A blurry image of a group performing a play. Underneath, the caption read, "Rehearsals for Ashen Mask, our most controversial play yet." Mr. Donovan had only been hired in 2013. So who submitted the same script 15 years apart? Emily flipped to the in memoriam page. 3 students from that year had died under unclear circumstances. Emily returned to school late that night, sneaking in through a side window. She needed answers. The photo from the yearbook had shown a different stage backdrop, one that didn't match the auditorium. It was smaller, with bare walls and exposed pipes. She wandered through the east wing, flashlight in hand, until she came across a locked door labeled Maintenance Archive B. The door wasn't on the school's current floor plan. Behind it, a narrow hallway, cold, smelling of rust and mildew. At the end was a room with theater props covered in sheets. And on the wall, pinned like some ritualistic offering, was a copy of the missing monologue. The red ink had smeared slightly with age, but the handwriting matched Chloe's notebook, except the date at the top read, written May 25, 2010, performer Amanda Lowell. Amanda Lowell was one of the students listed as deceased in the yearbook. Emily took the page and left, but as she exited the room, she heard it. Voice. A recording playing from a dusty cassette deck buried under costume boxes. She pressed play again. Chloe's voice. "He said I had to say the words. That they were his. That if I didn't, they'd never stop watching. He said Amanda didn't obey and now she's gone. I thought it was just a story, but I saw them, Emily. I saw their eyes behind the curtain." The tape cut out. She hadn't heard that voice since Chloe disappeared. Back at school, Emily confronted Mason Green. You said Chloe went to get a prop, she snapped. What prop? Mason's face went pale. I don't know, I lied. She was talking to someone. In the costume room. Oh, I don't know. I only saw a shadow. But it didn't look like a student. It was tall, dressed in black. Like he was part of the play. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. There was no character dressed like that in The Ashen Mask. 2 nights later, Lucas called Emily. It was a single page, the true final scene of the play, not part of any rehearsal. It read, and the girl disappeared, but her role never ended. For in every tale, someone must vanish so others can speak. Those who listen too closely become the next act. Fade to black. Emily dropped the page. Outside, the wind blew through the hallway with an unnatural force. Lights flickered, and for a moment she thought she saw Chloe, standing at the far end of the hall. But when she blinked, there was nothing. Emily couldn't sleep. After finding the final page in Chloe's locker and believing she glimpsed her friend in the empty school hallway, something shifted inside her. A subtle unraveling. Dreams turned jagged, filled with crimson ink and voices she didn't recognize. She returned to school the next morning expecting everything to feel surreal, but the day played out like any other. The students laughed, teachers taught, but behind every glance, every hallway whisper, Emily felt watched. At lunch, she pulled Lucas aside. I need to get back into that room. The maintenance archive? She nodded. There's more. Something still weighing? Lucas hesitated. You said Chloe's voice was on that cassette. That can't just happen, Em. It didn't just happen. It was meant to. Back inside the hidden storage room, the smell was stronger, like mold and ash. Emily found another crate marked Prop Closet 2010. Inside were masks, dozens of them, white with black slashes for eyes. Almost crime. Lucas picked one up. This was in the background during the final scene. We never used these. Emily turned it over. Written inside were 3 initials. Amanda Lowell. Then she found a yellowed folder buried beneath fabric. Inside, Polaroids, black and white images of rehearsals from 2010. But these weren't yearbook images. These were candid. Some students looked scared. Some were performing, and in one, Amanda was center stage, mid-monologue, with someone in the background. The same black-suited figure Mason described. The director, the shadow, or something else entirely. Digging through the folder, Emily found a date circled in red, October 14, 2010. Next to it, a single word. Recital. They checked the school's old digital calendar system. No record of a recital that night, but a janitor log revealed that someone had signed off access to the East Wing basement that evening. They followed the lead and discovered an old substage entrance, long sealed off. Lucas pried the lock with a wrench. Inside was a narrow, winding staircase. At the bottom, a small, dust-covered theater space. Seats for no more than 30 candles in a podium. On it sat a guest book, signed by students and staff. Chloe's name was on the final page. You above hers? Amanda Lowell. In the back of the room was an old, humming VCR connected to a dusty CRT television. A tape labeled Ashen Mask, Final Cut 2010 was already inside. They pressed play. Static. Then, Amanda performing the same scene Chloe had performed, word for word, but halfway through, Amanda turned, looked off stage, and froze. Her face contorted, not in performance, but in raw terror. And then she said something that wasn't in the script. I didn't mean to read it out loud. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was real. A sudden shadow engulfed the screen. The feed cut. Lucas ejected the tape and found something scratched into the plastic. 3 words. Say the lines. They went to the one man who had stayed silent too long. Mr. Donovan. We know about the 2010 performance, Amanda said. Amanda, the tape, the script. He sighed, leaned back, and rubbed his face. I tried to bury it. We all did. You knew her? She was in my class. Brilliant. But obsessed with the wrong story. She said the Ashen Mask wasn't fiction, that it had been passed down, that the final scene was older than the school itself. Who wrote it? No one knows. It's been rewritten, retyped, rephrased, but never changed. The handwriting always returns. Whose handwriting is it? Lucas asked. Mr. Donovan looked up. That's the thing. Every time we check, it matches the person who disappears. You don't write the script, it writes you. They returned to Chloe's room later that day. Taped behind her desk mirror was a note, possibly missed in earlier searches. Emily lifted the old wood panel. Beneath it, another tape. This one wasn't a performance. It was a message. He came after the read-through, said I opened the curtain, that I couldn't undo it. He said Amanda tried to rewrite the ending, and that's why they took her. He said, my scene is next, that I have to say the words or they'll choose someone else. I'm sorry, Em, I'm so sorry. The recording cut off with knocking in the background. Emily took the original script and made a decision. She would destroy it. Together with Lucas, she brought it to the school courtyard after dark. They lit a fire in a barrel and watched the pages curl and blacken. But the flames died before they reached the final monologue. It refused to burn. Lucas threw it back in. Still remained. As they stared, the ink began to glow, a deep, unnatural red, and a message appeared on the back. Behind them, the sound of a piano started playing from inside the supposedly empty school auditorium. They turned. The doors were open. The stage lights were on, and Chloe was standing center stage. Curtains rise for those brave enough to speak the lines no one remembers writing. The auditorium was not empty. Emily and Lucas stood frozen at the back of the hall, staring at the girl under the spotlight. Chloe. Pale, barefoot, wearing the same costume from the final act of the Ashen Mask, only now it was torn, smeared with black streaks. Her face was blank, expressionless. Her eyes stared forward, not at them, but past them. Lucas whispered, it's not her. That's not Chloe. Chloe opened her mouth and began reciting lines. Not from the original script, but something new or older. The silence breathes, the watchers wait, and the curtain never falls for the chosen. The stage creaked beneath her feet, and from the rafters above, a faint scraping sound echoed, like ropes tightening. Lucas rushed to the control booth, trying to cut the power. The switches were dead. The emergency lights flickered and sputtered, but wouldn't shut off. Emily crept toward the stage. Chloe, she whispered, her voice cracking, if you can hear me. Chloe didn't react. But then, without warning, she looked straight at her and said, you read the script, you said the lines. Emily stumbled back. What do you mean? I never... Chloe's voice became deeper, layered, not hers anymore. Amir, you finished the story. From the floor, a low hum began to vibrate. Beneath the stage, Emily could hear something shifting, like chains dragging. She turned to run, but not before catching one final image burned into her mind. A new script appearing on the stage floor, page by page, as if typed by invisible fingers. And at the top of the first page, at the betrayal, cast Emily Chan, Lucas Hart, Chloe Armstrong. The next day, Emily confronted the last person who might hold a piece of the puzzle, the retired drama teacher from 2010, Miss Caroline Verne, now a recluse living on the outskirts of town. It's still happening, isn't it? Miss Verne asked as soon as Emily walked in. You knew about it, Amanda. About a play. Mrs. Verne nodded slowly. They call it a play, but it isn't. It's a ritual, a reenactment, a trap. She pulled out a battered file box and handed Emily a series of handwritten notes. They say the first script was found buried in the foundation of this town. It gets rewritten every decade. New cast. Same ending. Emily leafed through the papers. One caught her attention, an old photo. Amanda Lowell on stage, and behind her, blurry but unmistakable, stood Chloe. But Chloe hadn't even been born in 2010. Back at school, strange things began happening. Students heard footsteps in empty wings. Stage props rearranged themselves overnight. Someone started posting new casting calls on the theater board, typed in red ink and signed, "Only the director." One of the stage crew, Ellie Morrison, went missing after a night rehearsal. Her car was found in the school lot, her costume bag still in the back seat. When police searched the auditorium again, they found a fresh script page nailed to the prop door. She missed her cue, so she exited early. Emily realized then the play was alive. It was choosing performers, writing new lines, claiming anyone who stepped on stage. Lucas suggested burning the stage, tearing out the curtain, smashing the lights. They tried. But by morning, everything had returned, restored, as though nothing had happened. The next day, Emily confronted the last person who might hold a piece of the puzzle. The retired drama teacher from 2010, Miss Caroline Verne, now a recluse living on the outskirts of town. "It's still happening, isn't it?" Miss Verne asked as soon as Emily walked in. "You knew about Amanda, about the play." Miss Verne nodded slowly. "They call it a play, but it isn't. It's a ritual, a reenactment, a trap." She pulled out a battered file box and handed Emily a series of handwritten notes. "They say the first script was found buried in the foundation of this town. It gets rewritten every decade, new cast, same ending." Emily leafed through the papers. One caught her attention, an old photo. Amanda Lowell on stage. And behind her, blurry but unmistakable, stood Chloe. But Chloe hadn't even been born in 2010. Back at school, strange things began happening. The students heard footsteps in empty wings. Stage props rearranged themselves overnight. Someone started posting new casting calls on the theater board, typed in red ink and signed "Only the director." One of the stage crew, Ellie Morrison, went missing after a night rehearsal. Her car was found in the school lot, her costume bag still in the back seat. When police searched the auditorium again, they found a fresh script page nailed to the prop door. She missed her cue, so she exited early. Emily realized then the play was alive. It was choosing performers, writing new lines, claiming anyone who stepped on stage. Lucas suggested burning the stage, tearing out the curtain, smashing the lights. They tried. But by morning, everything had returned, restored, as though nothing had happened. Digging through Chloe's room again, Emily found a hidden journal inside a hollowed-out literature textbook. It wasn't hers. It was Amanda's. Somehow, Chloe had it. Inside were references to ancient rites. Aeschylean echoes, Amanda had called them, ritual theater designed not to entertain, but to invoke. One passage read, "The mask is not for the actor, it's for the audience, so they never know what they're really watching." Another page was completely black with only 4 words carved into the paper. "Do not finish Act 4. But Emily remembered the page they had found earlier, the one in red ink. Act 3, the betrayal. You know, that meant Act 4 hadn't happened yet. Later that night, Lucas called Emily in a panic. I read the lines." "Oh, what lines?" "I don't know. I found a script page in my backpack. It had my name. My eyes just followed them. I said them out loud." "Lucas, where are you?" "I'm at the school. I didn't plan to come here. I woke up and I was outside the auditorium." Emily raced there. The auditorium was dark, but she could hear music playing faintly, the same twisted piano tune from before. She found Lucas standing center stage, staring into the darkened audience. "Lucas," he turned to her, slowly. His eyes were glassy, mouth slightly open. Then he said, "I know how it ends now, and it doesn't end with us. The lights flared. A deep hum resonated from the speakers. Then, from the shadows of the upper balcony, someone stepped forward. Tall, dressed in black, wearing a pale white mask. The director. He raised a hand and pointed to Emily. Lucas screamed. The auditorium began to shake. The stage groaned and split slightly down the middle. Emily turned to run. But Chloe was in the doorway. Her eyes were bloodshot, lips trembling. "I don't have a line," Emily cried. Chloe pulled something from her coat, a single page. The title, Act 4, The Offering. Undercast, Emily Chan. Final performer, you are not reading a script, you are becoming one. Emily stood center stage. The lights above flickered unnaturally, buzzing with an electrical hum that didn't belong in this world. In her shaking hands, Act 4, The Offering. 6 pages, typed in blood-colored ink, her name at the top, no others listed. Around her, the auditorium was packed, but not with students, not with people. The shadows sat upright in the audience, faces pale, mask-like, unmoving, a theater of forgotten souls. From above, the masked director loomed in the lighting booth, motionless. And from the wings, Chloe waited, her lips trembling, eyes glassy. She wasn't alone anymore. Amanda stood beside her. Or what was left of Amanda. You can't rewrite an ending once the audience arrives. Emily stared at the script. It wasn't just words. It was thoughts, her fears, her memories. The first line opened with, "I saw her vanish. I told no one. I let the stage devour her." Wasn't true. Was it? More lines followed. The guilt, the betrayal, the knowledge of things she never admitted, not even to herself. She began reading aloud, not by choice, but by compulsion. Each word felt like it was pulling her deeper. Chloe shouted from the side, "Stop reading. That's how it binds you." But Emily couldn't stop. Her voice wavered. "Let the audience see. Let them know what I buried. Let the curtain fall with me beneath." Suddenly, Lucas appeared at the back of the auditorium. He sprinted down the aisle, leaping onto the stage. "Emily!" he shouted. Dropped the script. But as soon as he touched her arm, a blast of invisible force threw him backward into the orchestra pit. The audience, those masked shadows, began clapping. Softly, slowly, mockingly. Emily turned toward the pit. Lucas wasn't moving. Chloe screamed. The grip pulsed in Emily's hands. Then, from beneath the stage, a trap door creaked open. The stage had chosen, and it was hungry. From the trap door, black smoke began to rise. With it, a shape, a figure, pale and trembling, its face wrapped in an ancient, cracked theater mask. Half tragedy, half madness. The original Ashen performer, the thing that had been directing the story all along. It floated upward, suspended by ropes, stitched with red thread. Its arms were long and jointless, its fingers extended like ink tendrils. And it spoke, not aloud, but inside Emily's head. "You've been the writer all along. You just didn't remember. You wrote Act 1 when you lied. Act 2 when you lied. Act 3 when you doubted. And Act 4 when you stepped on stage." Emily dropped the script, but it didn't fall. It hovered. The pages flipped violently. The last scene wrote itself. We fight on line. She kneels, and they rise. The shadowy crowd stood now. Dozens, hundreds. They filled every seat. Their masks gleamed. Their faces were blank parchment, ink bleeding from eye sockets. They weren't audience members. They were past performers. Failed ones. Chloe ran onto the stage, screaming, "You can't let it end this way. That's what it wants. It feeds on finales." Emily looked down at the script, then to Lucas, now barely conscious, and to Chloe. But when she understood now, every 10 years, the script returned. Someone read it aloud. Someone finished it. And the performance continued. But what if there was no ending? What if the final line was never said? Emily stepped forward and tore the final page in half. The shadows screamed. The theater shuddered. Lights exploded. She grabbed the rest of the script and threw it into the trapdoor fire still burning beneath the stage. The flames roared, but this time, they accepted the offering. The ashen mask shrieked, retreating upward into the darkness, yanked by unseen ropes into the catwalks above. The shadowy crowd stood now. Dozens, hundreds. They filled every seat. Their masks gleamed. Their faces were blank parchment, ink bleeding from eye sockets. They weren't audience members. They were past performers. Failed once. Chloe ran onto the stage, screaming, "You can't let it end this way. That's what it wants. It feeds on finales." Emily looked down at the script, then to Lucas, now barely conscious, and to Chloe. She understood now. Every 10 years, the script returned. Someone read it aloud, someone finished it, and the performance continued. But what if there was no ending? What if the final line was never said? Emily stepped forward and tore the final page in half. The shadow screamed. The theater shuddered. Lights exploded. He grabbed the rest of the script and threw it into the trapdoor fire still burning beneath the stage. The flames roared, but this time they accepted the offering. The ashen mask shrieked, retreating upward into the darkness, yanked by unseen ropes into the catwalks above. One by one, the masked audience members began vanishing, dissolving into ash, swept upward like dust in reverse gravity. Only the real remained now. Emily, Lucas, Chloe, in a single, empty stage. The auditorium sat in silence. For the first time in weeks, no whispers, no footsteps, no performances. The curtain was torn. Emily stood, gripping Lucas's hand as he pulled himself upright. Chloe approached them, still shaken. "We broke it," Emily said. "Maybe," Chloe replied, "but something tells me." Emily turned. On the stage floor, something had been etched into the wood beneath where the script had burned. It read, Chloe whispered, "What question?" Emily didn't answer, but deep down she knew. The question was, what really happened that night? And someone someday would ask it again,